Kiyo Fusashi, it's up to you. I felt like I heard that voice, which snapped me out of my terror. Kiyo no Sashi was the same in that regard. Our eyes met, and then I heard to take Rekako-san in Mako's hand while he grabbed Yasunaga-kun by the shoulder. Without even seeing the results of the third shot, we ran straight for the exit. We were closer to the exit than the other side. We heard another gunshot, but we weren't in the situation to turn around. Rekako dropped to the ground, letting out a cry as she did, and I ended up basically dragging her. Kyonosuke saw that his expression changed, and he's still holding Yasunaga-kun's hand and used his open hand to push my shoulder. I felt like there was a silent understanding between us. Not saying a thing, he hurried to let go of Yasunaga-kun and took Rekako's hand while I took Yasunaga's now empty hand. It was an irrational action. However, I'd probably thought I had no right to hold her by the hand, a feeling which made it hard for me to run. She grasped her hand and started running. Following his example, I took Meiko under my arm and started running, pulling. The young man seemed to be in a stupor. Was it just me, or was the mist even denser than usual? It's probably felt that way because I was running. I followed the gravel path and ran up a hill. It's okay, I can run by myself now. Hearing that clear voice, I let go of my hand. Where should we run? Nosato's Mansion's the sturdiest building here. It made sense. The two were going there too. If we regrouped, we held our ground there. Suddenly, I heard laughter coming from the side. I could clearly feel the bullets past the top of my head. Genie, why? Keep running. Meiko cried for the first time ever. To keep my running close to Irma. I suspected Yasunaga-kun to be right behind me, but I couldn't hear his footsteps anymore. Please stop. He was probably trying to convince Jimmy. I've always liked you, you know. That brief exchange and the gunshot that followed seems clearly clear. Please don't make a sound, Mako. This is the end of the line for this loop. With Japan being a mostly gun-free society, their power could easily be both overestimated as well as underestimated, making it hard for us to gauge. However, here in the mist, I could barely see anything and could be hit at blank point by surprise. I was all too aware. Guns were frightening tools that could end a life with a single pull of a trigger. I made it to Yamiaki's house and hid behind it for a while. I had to catch my breath and figure out my best route to Nosato's mansion. By following this path, I could pass the collapsed construct site and arrive at the mansion. That was the fastest way there, but I wasn't sure. Hearing that cheerful voice, I heard the unlocked door open up. I'd run as fast as I could, but she caught up easily, probably due to her healthy legs and familiarity with the land. Meiko was trying really hard not to scream. I was hoping that she could hold it in. Hearing someone enter, I counted to 5 and snuck out. I didn't sense anyone following me. Going down the hill, I passed the plaza and continued making my way to Nosato's mansion, hoping they missed me. Putting Meiko on my back, I continued sneaking. This was the second time I'd reached this final stage with her by my side. Was it fate or something? Shaking away the question, I went ahead and kept moving forward. I quickly found out I was being too naive. There was a person right before the mansion. There was a message that looked vaguely human in front of him. He poked at it, something long and thin, probably a shotgun. I didn't know whether it was because he was a wolf or from the crow family. Hiding on an oak wasn't enough to fool him. He was right.
じっちゃんとかおっちゃんみたいにさ。その方が僕は楽しい。
The snappy attitude he'd given us on the later part of the feast was nowhere to be seen. Faking his behavior to keep up the act just because he was a wolf must have been stressful for him. Right now, I was close to him, could tell by his expression that he was extremely refreshed. But man, Kiyonosuke seemed to have struggled and probably to let Gekko escape. He had guts in him somewhere
りっ
after
ちゃん
that.
みたく背中から撃つのはあんま気分良くないから趣味じゃないな。
Let Mako run
そ
away.
りゃあ難しいな。狼様的には。読みび、自分で読みに帰るなら知らないけど。
Was he bound by the curse of the real story? I let Mako go. Go down the cliff until you reach the river. Can you do that? Doing that probably meant getting the same ending as last time, but it wasn't impossible that she wouldn't make it. Chimi wasn't with us. Maybe if the girl was alone. Whatever the case, it was better than just letting her get shot. It's fine. It's gonna work out. Most importantly, if I die here, all of this would return to nothing and I'd loop. I actually reached a point when I considered that in my calculations. Go. She started to run.
なんて嘘。
As Chikamochi Koshimida began aiming at her, I felt intense anger. I couldn't understand him at all. Is this really how they were? Or was this caused by the real story? My body moved before my messed up brain was... I didn't expect. My instincts to protect child must have taken over. I heard the gunshot and then felt the lead bullet bite into my body. Because of the poor visibility, because of the buckshot was small, possibly meant for birds, that wound wasn't fatal. Still, the pain through my body, I staggered a bit, then fell to my knees. It hurt a lot. I didn't feel Mako behind me. She must have ran away without looking back. It hurt. It hurt a lot.
何やってんだよ、ハッサン。あんなこ、ハッサンは僕と遊ぶんだ。ハッサンは僕と遊ぶんだよ。しょうがないな。やる気がないなら、せめて面白い格好の死体にで。
約束が違うじゃん、モッチ。
As I heard that voice, I looked up and saw that Chikamochi was dead. The wolf that popped out of the mist willed a blade inside the gun.
春明さんは私がって言ったのに。
It was an extremely sharp kitchen knife. It embedded to the hole in the other wolf's head. The boy quickly collapsed without saying a word. Chimi grabbed his weapon, checked the chambers, and clicked her tongue. Then she walked up to the boy's corpse
玉切れじゃん。打ちすぎなんだよ、下手くそモッチ。
and removed the knife from his head. The body jerked for a moment, then lay still. She looked at the weapon, wet gray matter, then threw it away. I wondered what she'd do next. She took a new weapon out of her sleeve. It was like her entire body was a weapon.
春明さんさ、二人きりだね。ま、だからなんだって感じだけどさ。
She sounded bored, but I could feel the bloodlust and malice
も
behind
う
her
言葉
words.
も出せない感じ？
Why?
あ、喋れてる。よかった。
Why are you doing this?
しょうがないじゃん。しなきゃどうにもなんないんだもん。
I didn't think you were like this. I don't know if it's the law or legend or whatever, but I always thought you'd always resist no matter how scary it was. Yet you...
残
She spoke with unbridled
念。新内
malice.
さんの言う通り、ばっかみたい。みんな神様に踊らされてるだけなのに。ちえみさんはね、ただ単に最初から殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくてたまんなかっただけ。そう言ったら里帰りしたのだって殺しがしたくて戻ってきたようなもんだったしさ。だから今夢みたいだよ。残念色男さん。芹沢千恵美はそんな人間でした。女を見る目がなかったね。
But that That was just...
春明さんに会った時から思ってたよ。この人を殺したらどうなるかなって。ある意味ようやく夢が叶うんだよ今。ルール違反の私はどうせ今晩汚れでぐちゃぐちゃの死体になる。これは最後のお楽しみってか。じゃあこれで。
Let's make a bet. All my curiosity about the mystery, the fear of the path to it, even the pain along, only pride was left. Give me 10 minutes. I'll use them to run away. Once the time's up, you chase after me. If I get away, I win. If you win, I wanted to let my own... I'll die with love for you.
いいね、素敵。
Even if this was a meaningless, insane dead end, I would go and die on my own way. I'll bet it, staggering, I could still run if I ignored the pain. Blood was flowing. Even so, I ran uphill. I knew that was the path that was closed off here. The last sloop had entered the mountain and gotten stuck. The misty mountain was... I was about to get lost in the mist. Even so, I brought Chimi here. I could maybe give a chance for Mako to escape. That was good enough for me. If she wasn't coming after me, it was unlikely that she'd go after Mako instead. Chimi would be left in the village by herself. In that case, I figured I had to try running away. I'd given up on trying to understand her insanity this time. Next time, I think about it next time. I passed the cliff and reached the mountain. The mist was even denser than usual. I looked down and noticed that a lot of the road was covered. The earth, the sand, the collapsed trees made it pretty much impossible to walk past here. I couldn't tell if it was artificial, nor did I knowledge to investigate and figure out. I just followed the path. The 10 minutes had already passed, so Chimi must have been telling me. Whenever I stopped, I felt I could hear the sound of rustled grass in the distance. She was chasing me. From what I could tell, she was actually following the winning mountain path. That was good for me. I wanted to keep it up, and made this more interesting. Maybe she wasn't really trying to catch me. The distance between us wasn't closing at all. I suddenly became a bit dizzy. There was the largest tree nearby. I sat down next to it so I could catch my breath. My vision suddenly turned dim. I quickly opened my eyes, but I had a bad feeling like I had been actually out for cold for a while. I tried standing up and realized I couldn't move my limbs properly. I must have lost too much blood. I tried finding the path again. Apparently my sense of direction and judgment had a sink. Perhaps things would have worked out if I wasn't injured. This was a different realm. Though knowledge by few, the outskirts of the village were the hunting grounds of the merciless mountain great Lord Shinai, the only one free one to move in here. Were the madmen siding with the mountain god. That was unreasonable, unscientific, superstitious, abnormal. Why was Chimi up the mountain? I'd always sensed her coming from below. What was this all about? I couldn't even say a thing, but I felt like I had a chance. I rolled down the mountain. Brimming with the joy of the hunt, Chimi chased after me. A part of me wanted the mountain just to collapse. My path was blocked off by the natural trees. My body was at its limits, unable to tell whether my vision was turning dim or if the mist was becoming denser. I used the last bits of my energy to face her. The wolf was coming. It was close. It would devour both my flesh and a soul alike. I won the feast, so I hoped the mountain god would at least save my soul. I'd gone through a lot of difficult so far, so it wouldn't be unfair to let me have a peaceful ending, right? Yeah, I knew full well the world wasn't such a kind place. The upcoming death would surely be more painful and desolate than any other. After all, I knew that one granting it was a girl that I once loved. I didn't want this. I never desired an ending like this. I didn't care if it made me look like a sore loser. I wanted to go out in a way that would leave a thorn in Chimi's heart. I thought a lot of meaningless things, but my words escaped me. The wolf's fang pierced the spider inside of me. Why? That was all I could say, physically and mentally. Why was she alive? Why was she here? Why did she protect me? Those questions spun in my head. Of course she would do this. She was a descent of the Uzumasusa until the very end. Her sense of duty and justice hadn't faded on the brink of death. She glanced at me, completely dying my assumption. That wasn't it. She was simply obeying her wretched, unwavering heart. After all, I was special to her. Sorry, I said another word. Sorry I couldn't stay with Mako. Sorry I couldn't protect everyone. Sorry I talked to a wolf into a gamble that made it impossible for me to look you directly in the eyes. That was the last word I could ever say. Even so, my eyes and ears were still active, thus I witnessed everything that happened. With a maddened scream, the mad woman tried to pull out the knife. She couldn't. It was probably snagged in her ribs so badly that either pushing nor pulling helped. Her voice was hard to make it out, all due to blood leaving her mouth, but it was calm, gentle even.
汚れも私があんたなんかに何がわかる。休みずの黄泉の汚れはどうやったって私を縛る。
But I remember enough of this to think about those words meant next time. My failing vision merged into one. I noticed Reikako's hand reach for Chimi's neck by chance. Her fingers caught something. It was something on a string, a pendant. Chimi released the knife and snatched the object back, held it in her chest to hide it. Her voice was dense with pain. Not only that, it was also tangled with pity. I have no idea what those words meant, but they carried the impact of a sudden death blow for the wolf. With that scream, Chimi ran off somewhere, into the mist. She probably had no clear direction. Geico collapsed. Trying to move in her heavy-looking robe, she tried to crawl over to me. She wasn't the only one. I thought the exact same thing. I really wanted to say that, going out with a smile. I could barely even breathe. I used the very last of my power to collapse towards her. I then reached for her hand. Her hand laid over mine. All left our eyes as we were gradually reduced to mere objects. Yeah, I wanted to respond to those feelings properly. I would destroy all my chances of losing, and I would leave the mist along this foolish, pure, lovable woman next time, for sure. What do you mean when we rise again? Why would she think we can rise again? And that's how we got that ending. So, yeah.